Greetings, it's Carla from MooreTalkJa, and I am here to discuss. Okay, so I'm reading about the 5 people, because it's not women, it's 5 women and children who were raped in St. James. And first of all, I don't even know how to start this, because saying sorry to them does nothing. There's nothing I can say to them, right? This is a terrible thing. It shouldn't happen to anybody. And so sorry don't cut it. And that's the only thing I can have to say is I'm sorry for what has happened. No child, no person should have to go through this. And understandably, and it's a good thing, we're trying to move forward. We're trying to arrange marches. We want people to wear a particular color to draw attention to what is happening and all of these types of things. And I applaud the efforts that people are making to finally get something done. But what is going to happen after? I remember when Help JA Children was trying to arrange their march to bring publicity to the issues of sexual abuse of children, the fact that there are 9-month-old children coming into the hospital with sexually transmitted diseases, clearly because they're being sexually abused, and people did not want to put their support behind this march because they thought that this is not something that the public needs to talk about. You don't need to lift the cap off of the idea that uncles and cousins and brothers are raping little girls in their homes. We don't need to get the Jamaican society talking about this. This is a private matter that you need to talk about. Well, see, we don't have a choice now. We cannot treat it as a private matter anymore because this thing is public and forcefully being brought into our face. The fact that sexual abuse of our women is almost a standard part of our society right now. I have the story up on Observer's website, and when I look down there, I'm seeing more one like case by case incidents of young girls being raped. There is the serial rapist incident and all of these types of things. And when 9 days is over and the 9-day talk is over, I wonder, where are we going to be? Are we going to be any better off? Are we going to be in a position where the society will be safer from our young girls, for our young girls? Right? And it brings me now to this thing that I've been avoiding talking about, but it has to be talked about, which is the HFLE book. The HFLE book that everybody is claiming they did not know that the book was in development or any such book existed. I know for a fact that as early as 2008, this book had been set out and was being tested with various stakeholders. So how is it that at this point people can say, no, they never know the book exists? If you are in a ministry and you don't know that something like this exists, then maybe you need to reconsider your ability to do your job. However, nobody wants the book in the schools. Nobody wants the books to be exposed to their children because the book dares to acknowledge that there are homosexual people alive and that young children are having sex. Okay, the ministry, various ministries and child development agencies and stuff can tell you that the mean age of first sex for children in Jamaica is like between 13 and 15 right now. The children are barely in high school and they have started having sex already. Homosexuals exist and Jamaicans are just going to have to deal with them. That's all I'm saying. Like, they exist, they're part of the country, they're contributing to the nation's development and continuing to act as though they don't exist because it makes you comfortable or it falls into your idea of what a Jamaican is not going to benefit anyone. And for the sake of pretending that homosexuals don't exist, you're going to cut your children off from important information that they need to deal with the world. 5 females were brutally raped. This does not speak about the little girls who are dragged off from in the lanes when they're on the way home from school and raped, and who do not even know how to go home and say it to their parents, because every time they say the word sex to their parents, the parents close off and either beat them or tell them to go to their room and study them book, because that is big man business and them don't have any place to it. Here is the thing that we need to acknowledge. Everything is talking about sex to our children except for us. Except for us. The advertisements are telling your children about sex. The music is telling your children about sex. Not only are they telling them about sex, they are telling them how to have the sex, when to have the sex, who to have the sex with. And it's not the type of civilized sex that you would ideally imagine your daughter being engaged in. No, this is the type of sex where she's doing it in the crowd because they're proud. That's the type of sex they're telling your child about. Everybody is talking to your child about sex except for you. Do you want Vibes Cartel to be the person who helps your daughter to become a woman? Do you want the music that he makes to be the thing that guides her into womanhood? I would think that if anything, you would want to have an ally in the schools, especially if you're uncomfortable talking about sex yourself. I would think that you want to have the teacher as an ally talking to your child about these things. The book never come out of nowhere. Clearly, they knew they had to do the research to figure out what were the skills that these children needed in order to get this information together so they could give it out to them. I hear parents asking, what are they going to do with the information? Suppose they ask a question and they say, my child says, yes, I've had sex with 3 partners already. What are they going to do with that information? Well, honey, if your child has been having sex with 3 partners already and you have not given the child the information that's in that book, I would think the teacher needs to design a program for your child alone, because they're in trouble. You want your child to get information about sex from them, friend? You remember the things your friend used to tell you about sex? Do you remember how you could have used Pepsi to cure all kind of evil? Did that actually work for you? No. So I'm thinking what you want to do is to look at the book, look at what's useful in the book. I'm not saying the book is perfect. I have not got the thing in my hand. I'm sure parts about it are problematic. But look at what is useful in the book. Open your eyes to where your children are being raised. Everybody wants to move back to this ideal Jamaica where sex was something that was kept under wraps. And let's not even get into the problems with that. How many uncles were raping their nieces repeatedly and nobody knew about it because sex was not something you spoke about at the family table. Everybody wants to go back to that Jamaica. But the fact is, you're raising your child in Jamaica now. And while we work to make Jamaica into what you want it to be, you cannot afford to lose your children because you won't open your eyes and recognize where you are now. I watched an interview with Shabba when he was on air. And not air, on stage. And what is it that Shabba said? Shabba said, I drive my child to school. I talk to my child. I pick up my child from school. I discuss everything with my child. I ensure that my child can talk to me about anything. This is the man who used to talk about how him daddy a bedroom bully, so same where him come, and all of these types of different sexual things that he put out there as a musician into the landscape that people had to listen to, comprehend, and that affected the sexual development of many people. As a parent, he recognizes that the music that he puts out there is out there and music like it. And he needs to take a strong position in his children's life to combat the influence of things like that. Now, if the man who made the music go stand up for him in his child life and talk to him picnic honestly, you don't feel like you need to be doing that. And if you're not doing that, you don't feel like it is that the teacher, them or somebody need to be there to have that discussion with your child. And you think, okay, so everybody's afraid that if they talk about sex to their child, then you're going to open your child's eyes and ears to your child's eyes and ears are open already. And if they are not open, this discussion with you won't change anything. It will just be another thing you say to them. If they are really the type of people who will not become sexually activated in their thinking or in their actions until much later, your talking to them will not change that. You cannot guarantee that your talking to them will change that. But what you can guarantee is that if you don't talk to them and they start out without your advice or without the knowledge that they can come to you and say X, Y, and Z, then the child is going to be in trouble. Are you willing to take that risk? You should not be. Next thing, I hear people talking about the rape and abuse of young women in the society, but then I hear them talking about the rape and abuse of the young men in society, and it's like everybody is so incensed that the boys are under attack, that people dare to rape the boys. Look here, as a woman, I'm not inherently rapeable. I was not made to be raped. And if a man is raped and I am raped, both of those things are just as offensive. And my daughter will not be made to be raped any more than my son is raped. So even though we have a history, or there are more women that are raped in society than men, I refuse to believe that we are more incensed about the fact that young boys are being sexually molested than young girls. Is it that we've given the young girls over to just be sexually molested because it's what they're made for? This is ridiculous. When we realize that these things are tied in, we will not educate our children sufficiently to talk about sex. We will not acknowledge sex, therefore to acknowledge that sexual predators are out there, to ask our children to please be on the lookout for them. We insist on speaking about women in particular ways, speaking about them as if they are objects. All them make for the... No, listen, I'm not one of those people who blames dancehall. I don't blame dancehall. I love dancehall music. I dance to dancehall music. I research dancehall. So I love dancehall. This is not what I'm saying, but I am saying that some dancehall artists need to be aware of the image that they're painting, especially of girls, and how that image is affecting the young boys out there. And they might be saying that what they're reflecting is what is going on out there, but when you're reflecting from one person to another, it is one thing. When you're reflecting from yourself to an entire community, including people who would not have been privy to this particular idea if you didn't come and say it over the radio, we need to be mindful of that. Look at the music video them. Even the censored music video them. Why did you bother to let them make a censored version of the song when in the video the girl can basically be wearing a denim thong, passing as shorts, splitting open her legs like this and jiggling it and clapping it for everybody to see? And believe me, this is not about left side and conscience. Like, for them thing, I for them thing. Like, for them thing, I play on YouTube, I for them thing. That never I gonna make it on TV. Like, we talk about the one them where I run on TV, where the girl them have on liquor and nothing and a bend over, jiggle it, spread it wider, all of them type of something there. And this is playing on the regular television. What are you telling little girls that they're supposed to be? More importantly, what are you telling little boys that little girls are for? And when that little boy see that little girl and approach her away and she go on like she hype, when the little boy now just draw her off and do anything that he want to do because he has been taught that, well, a girl is just a sexual object. She's there for me to look at, and if I feel like touching her, I should be able to touch her. And if your daddy is not looking at you and saying, son, you need to respect a woman, if you are being raised by these images and nobody is talking to you about them, what do you expect? I'm not making excuses for men who rape. You don't have any excuse to ever put your hand on a woman who does not want you to put your hands on her. But what I'm saying is we are creating the conditions that push these boys, or not even push these boys, that encourage these boys to engage in these types of actions because nobody is stepping in to say, no, that girl that is in that video, she got paid to do that. It's just something she's doing for that video. That's not how all girls are. And even the fact that she's dressed like that and doing that don't mean you get to treat her in any particular way. Nobody is talking to children about these types of things. And then we are shocked when we end up in these types of conditions. We act like crime and violence. Like crime and violence, everybody want to take a chikini way or a bandula way or go around the thing or find some little underhanded way to get things done. Clearly, the corruption thing, it just continues rolling and rolling and rolling. I don't think that these 5 women and children who were raped was random. This is somebody trying to show that them have some type of power. This is somebody trying to prove a point. And over again, women's bodies are used to prove these types of points. When will we realize that the society that we are creating just puts women at more and more and greater risk? When people need to show power, sometimes they go towards beating up somebody or like licking down somebody or type of thing, but more often than not what they do is they show the power by raping a woman. You can look at it, it's a strategy that they use in war. You rape the women to show that you have power. So when will we realize that feeding into this corruption thing and this gunman thing and the politician and the police and the gunman and everybody link up in a one is just creating conditions where our women become more and more and more vulnerable, and not speaking to our young girls about the risks that are out there for them make them more and more and more vulnerable. And it all circles back, it circles back, and it comes down to our unwillingness to deal with some cold, hard truths about the Jamaica that we're living with, or unwillingness to let go of some of the foolishness that we said, this is what makes us Jamaican to do them type of something there. Listen, it's 2012 now. 50 years after independence, Jamaica has moved, the society has moved, and all of us need to move with it. I don't plan to lose any more women in this. How many of us have to get raped before you realize that there's a problem? How many of us have to get raped before you realize that you need to start? How many of us have to be raped and not even know who to tell before you say to your daughter, if something happened, tell me, and this is what could happen? And you go probably have to tell her about sex separately from that, or right in that conversation. When will it become worth it to you just to have your daughter be okay? When will we realize that we have to start talking to our children about the world that they're living in now? Closing your eyes and acting as though because you don't want to deal with a set of people acting as though they're not real will not make them disappear. And I don't even know what them disappearance going to add to your life. Them probably don't interact with you on a daily basis anyway. Like, I'm frustrated now because everybody want to talk about the things that are important. We are not talking about them. We're getting hung up on foolishness. Please, Jamaica, please, can we try to move forward as a country to a place where we can make it safe for our women, our children, our men, our boys, Everybody, can we move to a place where our boys don't feel like them have to be gunmen in order to be men? Can we move to a place where our girls don't feel like them have to know how to drop it low and bust it open in order to be sexy? Can we move to a place where people don't feel like it's okay to rape 5 girls to just show that they're the biggest man around there? Can we do what we need to do to open our eyes and move and look at Jamaica 2012 and try to take it into the future? Please, can we do something? That's all I have to say. Good night.